Welcome to UNCAGED. Today we're speaking with Billy Wilkinson. Billy is the Chief Executive Officer at Threshold. Threshold's family of companies. They includes Threshold and Promo Shack and a ton of other things that we'll get into today. We'll be talking more to Billy about what they do and how they do what they do. But before we get there, Billy, tell us a little bit about you and your career.
Absolutely. So it's a pleasure to be here today. Thank you for having me. And so I've been doing this a little over 28 years to an extent. I started off in financial services and then made my way through working through some other companies. I really lean from a sales and marketing background. I made my way working through several companies, including Bank of America and Wells Fargo, where I did private banking, investments, et cetera. In 2007, 2008, I got recruited to a local software company where I joined the executive team running their consulting, sales, data, a lot of different things for a group of financial institutions across the US. Which really catapulted my career and helped me understand more to where I was headed directionally. And since then, I've been fortunate enough to either run or be a part of executive teams with several different companies, the latest being one where I'm part owner in, and that is Threshold. And I've been doing that for the last 7 going on 8 years.
That's awesome. And, I see that, your roles evolved there over time, but you are the chief executive officer now. And tell me a little bit about Threshold. It seems like you guys are doing some really, really interesting stuff.
Well, thank you. Yes, we like to think so. So we are a full service agency. We do everything from creative, naming, strategy, branding, logos, all the way through to website design and development. That's actually become a very big piece of our business as of late, especially with our client base, but all the way through to activating leads to our clients as well. So essentially that's digital marketing. And then we have a division of promotional products, which you mentioned earlier, which is Promo Shack. And so Threshold, we cut our teeth in the real estate industry. So our largest part of our clients are apartments, it's student housing, senior housing, multifamily, conventional. Build to rent has become a really big deal for us as well. And so we started, the bulk of our clients fall in that category, but in Q4 of last year, which Marketing Your Everything has come out of that evolution of our brand. We also are now working with a similar vertical, which is financial institutions. We're working with community banks and credit unions, helping run digital digital marketing for them. We've also partnered with a company, Kasasa, which is based here in Austin, which I actually used to work for as well. And it's been a lot of fun. So we've really dug in and launched a new vertical around Marketing Your Everything.
And I think it's a really interesting time in the broader marketing services world. Certainly there's been a ton of change over the last decade in terms of fragmentation, et cetera. But, here we find ourselves kind of in an interesting kind of economic cycle. When you look out there, what are customers focused on right now?
Yeah. Well, what's great about where we are, Ben, is that we're not in the $100 million McDonald's digital marketing. That's not our typical client. Our typical client has a couple $1,000s a month that they're using to get new leads. And they're either getting new customers, whether it's at financial institutions, we call them FIs, in case I say that, just so everybody knows, financial institutions, for short, we say FIs, but they still need new customers. When you think about that environment today, the need for deposits in regional banks is growing, and those rates are paying. They're paying higher rates as it is, and so there is a need to get that right now. And so, and the same for apartments. People still need a place to live. Student housing is an extremely resilient and strong marketplace, and so our clients are still coming to us for these efforts. Now, is it changing a lot? I think if you were to look in the segments of the marketing we're doing, digital marketing and the way we did it 5 or 6 years ago is very different today. The need for attribution, how we're, not just the marketing, but all the way through to closing in the funnel, the UX of the website is becoming extremely critical for all of our clients today. So, it's, again, the dollars are still there, but we see much more scrutiny right now. Even with the pending recession, you typically see people pull back on their marketing budgets.
Yeah.
We've been very pleased to see the price point that we play at, and with our clients, that's not been the case, but we have seen scrutiny on those results has ticked up a bit.
Yeah, it's been interesting because I was looking at all of the kind of the broader macro marketing budgets as the agency holding companies reported their numbers. And it kind of was all over the shop. It seemed like things were either flat, a little bit down for some big groups, and then certainly up for others. And certainly, I think what you just highlighted, which is especially in the US, there's demand. People need to grow. People need leads. And especially in the segments that you're in, there's really a demand to kind of continue to push that. But Billy, I mean, it's always interesting for me to talk to folks, and being an old agency guy myself, I always kind of find it interesting to see why people ended up doing what they do. So, tell me a little bit what drives you and where the passion for Threshold and all of the work that you guys do comes from.
Sure. Well, first and foremost for me is it's taken me a long time, Van. I didn't wake up one day and go, man, this is what I'm going to do. I was lucky enough, and people say, pick your passion, X, Y, and Z. For me, over the course of my career, what's happened is I kind of lucked into it. I really started to understand who I was, what skill set I provide, and then adjusted my career accordingly. So number one, I know I'm a sales and marketing guy. At heart, when I run an organization, I lead with revenue. Revenue generation has got to be key, because the moment you're not generating revenue, you're losing it. And that to me is one of the biggest things to focus on. So I recognize that, about myself, and I enjoy that. I mean, I've always been a competitive guy. I play a lot of sports. I like to win. And that carries through to who I am. And when you get into sales and marketing, you have to be able to do that. It's like shaking off. I play a lot of tennis or golf, and you have to shake off the last shot. You have to move on to the next one. And business and revenue generation is a lot the same. You get told no a lot, but you have to learn how to deal with that and go back for more. And so, that was something that really materialized for me, that I love doing that. And I like to say, I also have a twitch for analytics and data. I love the metrics that go into it. I'm not a finance guy. I know how to deal with it. I know what to do, and I'm dangerous. But I also know that's not something, I'm not going to be a CFO somewhere. That's not what I'm meant to do. So, over the course of my career and experiencing these different roles, I've been fortunate enough to learn who I am and deploy my skills to help various companies. And so, when it came to the Threshold, what happened was, I'm not an entrepreneur. Like I like to state that, because what I see an entrepreneur doing, they're the person that sits and goes, you know what, today I'm going to open this QuickBooks account. I'm going to go, they're going to do 50 different things, which is from the very beginning of starting a company and taking that idea and doing something with it. My partner, John, started this business, and it was growing dramatically. And I was helping scale another company here in Austin. We'd grown to 600 employees, but we had equity in this company. And so the idea is how do we take that skill set and use that to our advantage at Threshold? So, I liken myself to I call it an execupreneur. I don't want to work. I'm not the guy that starts on day one. I'm not going to work at the multi-billion-dollar companies, because there's too much bureaucracy. It's not my place. I like to take companies that have an established idea and scale them into some sort of event, et cetera. And so, with Threshold, it was a perfect opportunity to be able to do just that.
Billy, what was that phrase again?
Execupreneur.
Execupreneur. I think you need to trademark that one.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I mean, I've tried to explain it to people. It's funny, when I came to Threshold, I didn't take the CEO title right off the bat. I actually took chief of everything else, because at the size of the company, that was one of my favorite titles, actually, is because, I was responsible for everything. There is no title for that, really, and it was a lot more fun. But yeah, execupreneur is about the best way to explain that.
I love it. And right now, Billy, I mean, we track all of these big trends in the space, one of the ones that has received a lot of focus in 2023 is generative AI. And that impacts certainly the area of some of the basic marketing work and probably some of the stuff that you guys see. How is that being thought through in terms of the customers that you guys have?
It's a daily conversation. It is literally a daily conversation, at least internally too, because for us, for us, it's not only how does AI apply to marketing and advertising, but internally, how are we using it to be better and smarter? I think
Yeah.
all of us as leaders have to look at AI, and yes, there's that whole dangerous territory that we're going to get in, which is, where does it take us down the road? Okay. But at the same time, there's some really great opportunities to use AI in what we do. Copy being one of them. I mean, and I've literally got a window of ChatGPT open right now where I'm playing with different things to see what comes out of it. Now, we're actively working with clients to help them understand as well, because there are instances where people can do a lot of marketing type things with AI. But the key is for an overall marketing plan, it doesn't tie it together. So
Right.
we're in the process of educating our clients. And I don't know if many people know this. Google has been using AI in their campaigns for years. They just didn't
Oh,
tell
yeah.
anybody. They had smart campaigns. They had all this different stuff that was running in the background. Well, that's essentially what it was. It's just now, we're giving people the tools to be able to use them in some way. So what we're doing is we're educating our client base on, listen, here's how we're ingesting AI into our workflow and our processes. And maybe some clients want to go use AI and do something in particular, but it doesn't tie a whole marketing plan together just yet. So, but listen, we're monitoring it, watching it. And, I think in instances, there's probably some good usage of it, but, we'll just sit and see where it takes us over the course of the next few years.
Yeah. And I mean, now here we are in the middle of 2023. It looks to me, I mean, knock on wood, I guess I should knock on wood somewhere, like things are starting to shape up for the better going into the back half of the year in the US here. What are you seeing on the near term horizon, Billy?
Yeah, I think for us, it's when you segment it out from real estate is going to be very interesting. So, if you read a lot about the industry, whether it's office space or commercial, multifamily itself, there are a lot of adjustable rate mortgages that were used to purchase buildings, and that's going to impact the marketplace.
Yeah.
Now it's already, most people have priced that in and they slowed down. Banks aren't lending as much money. They're tightening up to see what's going to happen with all this multifamily and office space. So for us, it's impacting a certain segment, which is the creative side. We call it our new development. So building a new building, we do the branding, lease space, floor plan. It's a very big, these are very big projects for us. That has slowed pretty dramatically until everybody can figure out what they're going to do and the amount of capital returns and the capital returns back for them to be able to do that. So, as far as the broader economy goes, well, let me come back to that, because financial institutions, we talked about that a second ago, as well as, what's happening with that trickle down effect. If these defaults on those loans are going to impact banks as well. I mean, Moody's this week downgraded 10 different banks across the US.
Here's my question. So I was reading an article, an interview with Jamie Dimon from Chase, and he was talking about how he's really trying to get all of his team back to the office. And I was thinking, yeah, I get probably he's doing it a little bit for the company, but my guess is that he's sitting on a ton of commercial real estate loans, or
True.
a lot of very wealthy customers of theirs would get hit unless these kind of things don't get resolved. And you're right. It's funny. I think we're at a cycle moment for that world, but I guess this is, Billy, this is the entrepreneur in me. I look out at that and go, there's an opportunity here.
Yes, you're exactly right. I agree. And I'm really shocked. Recently, WeWork said, listen, we're in, we may go into bankruptcy even after. I think if WeWork holds on, I think we haven't recovered yet, and we don't truly understand how office space will be used. I believe WeWork is a long-term opportunity. I think that we trim down dramatically. We use remote work to our advantage as a benefit for our size company. I don't know that we'll ever go back to that where we were. But you make a good point. I was at a conference a couple months ago in New York, and I think there's this old school thought that everybody's done it this way. We always went to an office. It's the only way you build culture. I just don't think that's true. But I don't
Yeah.
know what the future holds. And I think that's the
Yeah.
part is we as leaders have to be open to the future and how we take those steps. And it's some
Uh,
blend of that.
You're preaching to the choir here, Billy. I completely agree with you. It's very, very well said. Well, thank you so much for being on the Uncaged show today. If someone wanted to reach you and learn more about what you and the Threshold team are up to, where's the best place to reach you?
Yeah, well, definitely check out our website. It's www.thresholdagency.com, but email me is fine too, which is billyw@thresholdagency.com. Feel free. I love the emails, love the dialogue. So please feel free to reach out.
Excellent. Well, Billy, thank you so much for being on. We've been speaking with Billy Wilkinson. He is the Chief Executive Officer at Threshold, which is an agency that has a great, great tagline, marketing your everything. I love that. And really, they do a lot of work in financial as well as the real estate verticals, but certainly a lot of other areas, and really focused around growth and leads. And anyone who's worked in any kind of small to medium sized business, it all comes down to that. It all comes down to leads. That really tells you whether your business is heading the right direction, where you're growing, how you're holding on to those folks, et cetera. And so, Billy, thanks so much for being on the show, and we look forward to having you back.
Thanks. I appreciate it.
Cheers.